Hello again, everyone. Barry Hyatt here in Scottsville at the University of Kentucky Extension Office with my good friend Janet Johnson. Janet, there is definitely a chill in the air today, isn't there?
There is a chill in the air. I don't want to say winter's here, Barry, but it certainly gets us in the mood for the holidays, and that's why we're cooking in the kitchen here, and we have a great holiday smell going today.
Yes, we do. We walked in the building today, and we're like, wow, this smells fantastic. So what are we actually going to be making?
Well, of course, prior to Thanksgiving and even prior to the Christmas holidays, we think about traditional holiday desserts. So today we're going to look at a family favorite, which is pumpkin pie, but we're going to substitute and use a different winter squash and kind of challenge you to try some cousins of the pumpkin and maybe get a new favorite, whether it's a cushaw or today, as we're going to use a butternut squash. So this is a butternut pie today instead of a pumpkin pie. And we're going to talk, Barry, about winter squash actually are great to have around all winter because they have a much harder shell, and we have some examples over there of different winter squash there too. And I just wanted to show people when we talk about pumpkins how that, you know, the hard rind of the pumpkin actually enables that pumpkin to store for longer periods of time. But with many of the winter squash, which a pumpkin is a winter squash, you can actually, after scooping the filling out, like we will show you in just a moment with the butternut, actually take that shell, let it cool, and then you can spray it for a container. And this is one that I made last year.
Candy dish.
Yeah, and we've served Halloween candies in these little guys, but the same process for getting the pulp out and cooking it is the same as we'll show today. But with many of the winter squash that have a very thick rind, like the little pie pumpkin, you can make a container. And we're on our second year for this one, and it lasts a long period of time.
So far,
it's doing okay, yes it is. Now, with that said, let's talk about the butternut squash, because sometimes you can find some winter squash and sometimes you can't. You know, like a cushaw, I couldn't find that in Scottsville this season. They're already gone. So I'm like, okay, let's just substitute and use a butternut in terms of that. So what you have is that you have a butternut squash, which is a kind of a long guy with kind of a fat little bottom down there. Okay, and all you need to do to cook this guy fast and get some really inexpensive filling, Barry, is just kind of puncture the skin to allow the steam to come out. Just lay him down in a microwave. Put him in the microwave for about 5 minutes or until you see the skin begin to soften some, and then you just take a knife and slice him right in two.
There you go.
And then, by virtue of TV, we will show you what I've done is actually take this butternut and just simply remove kind of the strings and the seeds. Now, like a pumpkin, those seeds are edible. Yeah, I mean, but the little butternut squash doesn't have very many seeds at all. Much less than the pie pumpkin like that, so you don't have a lot left. But they're still edible if you want to shake those with oil and salt and roast those. Still edible for a snack.
We've tried that before, haven't we?
Yes, we have. We've done that. So just keep that always in mind with any of these guys. So we get that out, and then we lay the two halves, which will, again, now look like this, minus that little seed right there that's jumped out. And we will take this Pyrex, we'll cover it in plastic wrap, put just a little bit of water in the bottom. We'll put it back in the microwave and microwave until our pulp is tender. And then we will come back and just scoop this out. And you can see I did that, just scooped it out because it will be very soft. And I just took a spatula and actually just mashed it up. So after we've mashed the pumpkin or the winter squash, in this case the butternut berry, what you will do then is just get this guy ready, and we can refrigerate this until you're really ready to make the pie. And I've refrigerated this actually over the weekend, so it had about 2 to 3 days in the refrigerator. And then we simply take it from there with the recipe, just like you would a pumpkin pie, with a few variations. So with this butternut pie, we're going to use 2 cups of squash or winter squash pulp, just like you would do 2 cups of pumpkin or, you know, whatever that you're using. And like we said before, we get a lot of pulp. And you know, the thing about this, Barry, this pulp is really fresh and really tasty. Not that you can't use the canned pumpkin, you can, you know, but this is so much better.
Oh yeah, why not use fresh if you can? For
Why
sure.
not use fresh?
Yeah.
And the way we just talked about how easy it is to microwave that and take that out, it doesn't take a lot of time to actually take a squash, cook it, remove the pulp, and then you have it for other things. And you can freeze this pulp, Barry.
Okay.
You know, to have for pies later. So there we go. We've got 2 cups of butternut ready to go. And now we're going to treat it like a pumpkin pie, as we said before. We have 4 tablespoons, which is a half a stick of butter.
Okay.
Okay, and that's about 1/4 a cup that we have. And we have melted that, okay? So we're going to add the 1/4 a cup of melted butter. And I do love butter, Barry, you know. Very good. And then
Well, who doesn't really?
I mean, seriously. And then we're going to add some sugars, and we're going to have brown sugar and white sugar in
Okay,
this.
good
So
deal.
we're going to do 1/4 a cup of white sugar that we're going to add to this little mixture. And then we're going to add a half a cup of brown sugar. Now, if you are watching your sugar intake, you might want to use the Splenda and brown sugar combinations here.
Okay.
So that would be a way to kind of lower your carbohydrate here.
Yes.
It would be, and those are very good for baking, okay? So we've got butter and sugar and squash and butternut.
And it's looking good already. I can tell
Yes.
you.
So at this point, we're going to mix up, and we're just going to kind of get this blended, all the sugars and the butter and the squash. So we're going to stir for a little while. So a lot of people love to make pumpkin pies. You can make freezer pumpkin pies. This is a baked pumpkin pie that we're using, and instead of a pastry crust today, we are going to use a quick and easy graham cracker crust.
Okay, all right.
Now, one could make their own crust. I purchased one today to move things along a little more. I saw a delicious recipe for a graham cracker crust that had pecans in it.
Oh wow.
So if you make your own, consider adding some nuts to that crust
Yeah, oh, yeah.
to make a little variation there. This one today, we're going to use our nuts in a different place.
Okay.
But we are going to use them. So you can see we're just kind of blending those sugars
Sure.
and just mixing with a spatula. No electric mixer necessary here. That cuts up on cleanup time.
There you go.
Now we're going to be adding some seasonings,
Okay.
some flavorings, and 2 eggs. And those eggs do not have to be beaten. So we just add 2 eggs.
2 eggs. Okay.
And then we're going to measure out some flavorings. We're going to do a teaspoon of the old familiar vanilla flavoring, of course. And then we're going to add another flavoring that may be a little unique for some people, and that is, again, the use of a lemon extract.
Okay.
So that's a little different, adds a little bit of different flavor to this squash.
Yeah. A little bit of a zing there, I guess.
Little bit of a sweet zing.
Okay.
Yes.
Good deal.
Sweet zing, yes, but it has the extract to use. So now we're going to mix those up, and then we're going to add a couple of dry spices. A lot of people like to use pumpkin pie spice. This pie is going to use cinnamon and nutmeg.
Okay.
Just
Good
2.
deal. Okay.
No allspice in this one. And we're just mixing those up, and then we're going to measure out, again, a half a teaspoon of nutmeg, and this is the cinnamon, of course, so we're going to be using 1/4 a teaspoon of the cinnamon. Okay. Which is very yummy. This is the time of year for cinnamon fans.
Most certainly.
And now we're going to do a half a teaspoon of nutmeg. Now, depending on your spice tolerance, you could reverse the proportions of these 2 spices. If you are not a nutmeg fan,
Just switch them up there a little
you can
bit.
switch them up.
Yeah.
Yes, you can. So again, just mix the liquid flavorings and extracts in with the dry spices, and we've got our nice filling ready. Now this is a time that if you've used fresh squash or pumpkin pulp, and they're all squashes, but you know, you'll want to make sure that you kind of, if you have some pieces, make sure you mash those, Barry.
Oh, okay.
Because very often, you know,
You
when
want
you're
to be
getting,
very thin, I guess.
you definitely do not want lumpy pumpkin pie, you know. Yes, that's right. So you just kind of make sure that you mash up any type of piece of pulp that might have escaped you before. And then we're ready to get this pie ready to go in the oven. Now I have preheated the oven, Barry, to 400 degrees, and we're going to actually bake at 400 degrees for 15 minutes.
15, okay.
Then we're going to come back, we're going to lower the temperature to 350 for 45 minutes or until the custard-like filling is set. Okay. So we have a graham cracker crust that we purchased, and what I'm going to do is just take, and I'll let you kind of help me here, we're just going to pour the filling into this graham cracker crust.
Yeah.
Okay. This also helps with lowering a little bit of the fat, Barry, to use a graham cracker crust, and it's just a variance. We're actually going to bake it. It's a variance on a traditional pastry crust that is often featured with a pumpkin pie. But the flavor combinations are wonderful with this lighter winter squash that we have. Okay, so we just kind of spread this guy in there.
Yes.
And we are ready now to put him in the oven.
Yeah.
Remember, 400 degrees.
15.
Yes. And the magic of TV.
Hey, we have another one already ready for you.
We do. And this is how this little guy comes out. And it's a great little pie that you can serve as is. You don't have to put anything else on it. But
If you don't want to.
if you don't want to.
But we like to here.
But why not? Something
Let's
else.
add some more, yeah.
Yes. And so let's put a topping. I'll set that dirty bowl right
Now you
there.
said 15 minutes originally, and then you said 45 more extra minutes after that?
So a total cooking time of
About
an
an hour,
hour.
okay.
Yes, yes. Pumpkin pies take a little longer
Okay.
to do.
Okay.
Okay. So what I've done today, instead of buying the non-dairy toppings, and we all know what those are, okay? and those are great, okay, for a pinch, but if you really want richness for your pie, just get some heavy whipping cream.
Yes.
It only takes a second to do this. I mean, really.
Okay.
Now, you need your mixer, but you actually will kind of whip this up
Okay.
until it's foamy. And I'll tell you what I've done with this today, Barry. Getting it ready, I poured this in the bowl. I put 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon
Okay.
in with the whipping cream
Okay.
and whipped that up until it was foamy. And then I added about 1/2 cup of powdered sugar, a little at a time, until there were stiff peaks. And I'm going to tell you, this is wonderful.
Good stuff.
And you can keep this in the refrigerator. So, you know, what I'm going to do today is kind of put some topping all over the pie, but you could just serve this with a dollop on an individual piece,
Sure,
okay?
sure.
But we'll just kind of get it out here.
But who wouldn't want the whipped cream on top? I mean, let's
Oh, I'm telling you,
There might be a
this
few,
is
I
so
guess.
good. Some wouldn't, and so you might want to do your whole pie, but, you know, frankly, I don't know. But you can see how much whipped cream that you get.
Most certainly.
Definitely, and it's very cost effective when you look at the other types of toppings.
Sure.
Now, I'm also going to sprinkle this berry. I mean, our Allen County homemakers sell Shermer's pecans from Georgia.
Yes.
Shermer's pecans are delicious, fresh
Yeah.
pecans that have just come in, the crop's just in. It's a new crop, but they also have some variations called a cinnamon glazed pecan.
Oh, wow.
Now, not that you can't purchase pecans and do your own thing and, you know, find them there, but I've taken a few of these cinnamon glazed pecans, Barry, and I'm just going to sprinkle these on the pie.
Oh, wow,
and
yeah.
just think, you know, what this will be. This is delicious and wonderful, wonderful. They just bring out the cinnamon that we've got in the cinnamon whipped cream that is very tasty and very sweet, and therefore you've got this nice variation of a topping if you serve the pie like it is. It's a wonderful dessert. It's just a great dessert. And we'll slice up some in a moment here.
Yeah, that sounds
and
great.
get it going. So there you go. A variation on pumpkin pie, a variation in the crust, a variation in the toppings that you can put on.
And this is going to be airing during Thanksgiving week, so hey,
Oh,
no excuses
yum.
not to have a neat recipe for Thanksgiving meal.
It is very delicious, and we think people will really, really enjoy it. They will.
Well, if you guys want this recipe, we can take care of that. That's no problem at all. You can, first of all, email me at North Central. My email address is barry.hyatt@nctc.com, or you can simply go to our website. It's www.nctc.com. We'll have it on there with you along with the video of the actual presentation that we've made today. I think I told you last month that
yummy.
we're doing that now. So you
Yes.
can see the video, you can see how we put it together, and then of course you can see the actual, the information, the recipe right there too as well, all the ingredients that you need.
There you go,
And
Barry.
directions,
Yes,
so.
so plated up Kentucky proud, even you Tennessee fans, you know, definitely do that too. Find your good local food source in Kentucky or
certainly.
Tennessee and
you go.
enjoy these great foods right now of the season.
Most certainly. Well, Janet, thanks so much for your time. We appreciate
Yes,
it today,
absolutely.
as always. And thank you all for watching. Take care. We'll see you again real soon. And as always, have a happy Thanksgiving. Take care. Talk to you soon.